I'm in the situation that I'm in right this second based on the choices and the decisions that I've made prior to this very second. That's where I am. Then it has to work both ways.
Nate Maddox is our guest speaker on our call today. Had some great things to say on the Friday call company-wide. Really, I know Nate's story, and he's going to share a little bit about that tonight. But it was always valuable to him, and you can tell by the way he carries himself and the actions that he takes to change his life. I'm going to introduce you to Nate Maddox here.
I'm a student of the business. The only thing that I'm only good at two things. I'm good at not quitting, Vince, and I'm fairly good. I've gotten better at following directions and like following the system. And the good news about that is if you're only good at the first part, which is not quitting, eventually you'll be good at following the system. But I'd like to encourage everybody to really dig in, become a sponge, and really grip everything, all of the resources you have available to you. So I'm 32 years old. I hit regional manager in January of 2017. Um, prior to Equus, I'd never seen any success before. I actually got my insurance license back in 2007. Prior to that, hey, I just graduated high school. So just graduated high school with selling cars. I grew up in Pelahatchie, Mississippi. Um, that is not a very. I'm sure nobody on the call has ever heard of that. No one goes there for family vacations or anything like that. It's not very very small town. There wasn't a lot of opportunity there. I wasn't a very good student, so I didn't have a scholarship or anything like that. I was actually paying my way through college and started selling cars. And I was filling out his credit app like you have to do. You have to fill out a credit app whenever you sell a car. And his income, kind of like a client worksheet, his income the previous year was $380,000. And hey, there's not a lot of people in Brandon or Pelahatchie, Mississippi that make $380,000. So when he said that, I was 18 years old. I put my pen down and I said, hey, what do you do? And more importantly than that, how do you do that? So that's actually how I got into the insurance industry a long time ago. He gave me his card. I got my license. Was working doing some employee benefits type things. I was very very young, and I could make $1,000, and you wouldn't see me for a month or two. I'd be rich, living with my parents, no bills. But it was a very oversaturated market, and I was young, didn't have any discipline whatsoever. Um, but I did learn about mortgage protection back then, around 2010, 2011. I'd worked with another company briefly that sold mortgage protection, so I kind of had an idea of what it was, and I'd gone on some appointments, but I was terrible at it. Like when I say terrible, Vince, you mentioned earlier um, that how I started and everything. I went through my first planner, my first like activity with dials, contacts, appointment where I'm tracking my numbers, writing down my appointments, and I ran 28 appointments before I ever closed a sale. So when I say I was terrible, I have audio recording on an old laptop of me trying to dial and set appointments. Man, it would make everybody feel like a rock star. So I didn't really do anything with the business. I actually got back in the car business. Fast forward, 27 years old. I am running a Hyundai franchise in Madison, Mississippi. And I was used car manager, used car director, finance manager, and I was acting general manager without the promotion and the paycheck because the other general manager left whenever I left that dealership. And I had been working there. That was that was really my only corporate gig, if you will, and working for someone. Um, it was terrible for me. I I I went 13 months without a day off, working 12, 13-hour days. I would unlock the door, do a sales meeting for my salesmen who were all older than me, and work all day and lock the door at 10 o'clock that night. And I did that for about a year with no days off, and I learned that money doesn't equal freedom. I was making more money than I ever had at the time, but man, I was a complete slave. I had high blood pressure at 27 years old. And I said, you know what? This is not all it's cracked up to be. It's been a great experience, and I'm out. I moved to Alabama, South Alabama, on the beach, and just prepaid. I had some savings, and I just prepaid for 8 months during the off season and a little bit of the summer. Negotiated a deal to have a condo. I was on the beach. I was on the water, and I went down there. I guess I don't know what I was doing really. I was, young, just trying to find myself, I guess, if you will. I got bored because I wasn't doing anything and started bartending, which we have that in common, Vince. So I'm bartending down on the beach, and next thing you know, no one is impervious to their environment. So I'm spending all of my time with people who are completely okay, you know, waiting tables and bartending. No one is really trying to progress or do anything else with their lives. So I'm not trying to reach my potential, and and wouldn't you know it, I start getting cynical. I start getting negative, and then all these bad things start happening to me. Right, like I'm a victim. I went for a hike in Tennessee, fell down in a ravine, and I busted my leg open really bad, and I did not have health insurance. Um, I was kind of living paycheck to paycheck. I am now 29 years old. I've got a serious infection. I am learning a lot about wound care via YouTube. Can't go to the doctor. Drawing Sharpie lines around my wound, and I'm broke. I'm so broke, Vince, that my diet was already ramen noodles, and I'm living in this one bedroom apartment down, down by the beach, and I don't have any food, and I don't even want to talk to anybody. I remember running out of ramen noodles, and I remember eating my way through the canned food in my apartment, and was completely. It's hard for me to even go back into that place, Vince, because I literally didn't have any hope. Like I didn't know. I'm like, here I am about to turn 30, and I'm sitting there kind of evaluating myself. Like I don't have anything. I have a car. I just paid my truck off, and I dropped it to liability. I have no income. I'm completely out of food. I can barely walk, and all I have to show for it's a truck and a $1,500 motorcycle. Well, the first glimpse of hope came. A buddy of mine called me. He had some projects he was doing in forestry work. He said, "Hey, I know your leg's messed up. You can come work with us. You won't have to do much until it gets better. One of my guys just quit, and we're moving, and our next job is in the county that you're in." So I'm excited. Like first glimpse of hope. I pack up. I leave. I go to my brother Matt Maddox's house, and I'm staying at his house overnight. My buddy's supposed to pick me up in the work truck the next morning. I wake up early in the morning, and I have 100, like 80 to 100 text messages on my phone, which at the time it was extremely rare. I haven't even spoke to anyone in over a month. And I'm scrolling through these text messages, and they're all saying, "Hey man, are you okay? We heard what happened. Are you alive? Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I'm like, what are they talking about? And I'm scrolling through these text messages, Vince, and then I get to a picture. In the entire complex that I lived in, that my truck was parked under, and long term parking was completely burnt to the ground. There was a conventional oven on the hood of my truck, and it just crushed me. Everything that I had was now gone. minus a trash bag full of clothes and a $1,500 motorcycle. And that's how I started the year of 2016. I had $300 to my name, no car, nowhere to live. Luckily, I had a brother. He had a newborn baby, and one extra spare bedroom at the time, which probably should have been the baby's room, but I guess he was just letting me. He let me stay in it for a little while till I could figure something out. And I can remember Vince sitting in there, and he had to tiptoe around me because there was little kids, and it was quiet, and I was uncomfortable, and I didn't want to be in there, man. I wanted to run my own thing. I wanted to call my own shots, and I would sit in there with a white sheet of paper, a stack of white paper, and I would listen to YouTube videos about Brian Tracy and how to set goals, and just trying to figure out how am I going to change my situation. And I would draw out like this is what I'm going to do, and then I found out Eric Bolling called me, which I knew Eric Bolling from the time I had done some things with the mortgage protection back in the day. So I knew who these guys were, like Eric and Jared and Barry Clarkson. I knew who that was. I knew who Bill Martin was and Rob Jones. Like these were the guys that were like the guys back then. Like they were, everybody knew who they were. Rob Jones and Bill Martin, they wrote $50,000 plus every single month by themselves on their own pen back then, and that's who's leading our company. So I knew who these people were, and I heard about Equus. And here's if there's one thing a lot of people ask me, what changed, because nothing changes until you change. Here's what changed, Vince. I had to look at my situation, and I had to take responsibility for it. It was an electrical fire, didn't have anything to do with me. But at the same time, I could have been working. I could have been in a different apartment. I could have been, we could go on forever. Here's the fact. I'm in the situation that I'm in right this second, right now, based on the choices and the decisions that I've made prior to this very second. That's where I am. And I had to own that, and I decided that I would believe that, and I believe that now. I believe that everybody on this call, everybody not on this call, no matter where they are, whatever situation they're in the situation they're in based on the choices and decisions they've made prior to this very moment that landed them here. So I said, you know what? If that's true, then it has to work both ways. That means that I can decide the situation that I want to be in. And every choice, every decision that I make between now and then, is this getting me to where I want to go? And that was the one switch and the one change that I made in the way that I thought, and then things started happening. I went to a meeting in March of 2016. The meeting was at the end of February in New Orleans, Louisiana. It was their first road show that Equus was doing, a tour across the South, introducing their company. And Barry Clarkson was there. And I remember introducing myself to him and being like Barry, I know you. You don't know me, but you will know me. And I have CDs of you from years ago. I was excited because I felt like I had a shot, man. I felt like I had a shot, and I knew it was the only one I was going to have. And I still know that this is the only shot that I'll probably ever have. So that ignites a lot in me. But at the time, man, I was scared to death. I didn't care about, at the time, my situation. You want to know what you have? Run through your house with a gas can and set it on fire and lose everything that you have and see if it doesn't propel you into massive action. You know what I mean? So it was really the biggest blessing in disguise because I had no insurance paying for my truck or anything. I didn't have a check coming from anywhere, and I didn't even want one. People were saying, oh, you could probably, and no, dude, no, I'm in this situation and I'm going to get myself out. I took that $300 and I bought a bunch of C leads. Hey man, $300 will buy you a ton of C and D leads. And I got my Uncle CT left my brother a hunting truck, It was an old 4-wheel drive Ford Ranger with a 9-foot whiptail, uh, CB antenna with a dog box in the back, and I drove that truck around running sea leads for about a month and a half, all day, every day, scared to death. If it didn't make money, it didn't make sense to me, and that was my mission. I had to change my situation. So in the meantime, the next couple months unfolded rather quickly because I took massive action. Like, there is no shortcut to getting your processes down. Like, we have tons of tools, we have tons of support, but there is no shortcut to you developing your skill set and knowing what you have to do to perform at the level to make the income that you need to make. We can tell you what the formula is, but I don't know what your numbers are. So that's all I was focused on, was changing that. So rather quickly, I got through my learning curve. Rather quickly, I was able to purchase a car. I got an apartment. I had clothes, and then I had to get, shower curtains and forks and towels and furniture, everything that you need. Like, and you would be surprised how much stuff you need whenever you lose every single thing that you have. So I had to get all of that stuff. And I wasn't really thinking about building a team or, being a regional manager. I wasn't thinking about being a sales manager. I was scared to death. But the people close to me that knew me, like the people close to you that know you, they didn't know what was going on. Vince, they didn't know I was making 10, 12, 15 grand a month. I'd never made that kind of money before. But they didn't know that. All they know is Nate is broke and homeless. Nate has a car, has a house, and he's walking a little different, right? He's walking different. And they said, "We don't know what you're doing, but we're coming." And that was kind of the 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 way it happened, for that first two or three guys. And one was my brother, and one was my buddy uh, that gave me the opportunity, that was the reason I wasn't asleep in the house when it burned down. He was the other guy, and another guy was a guy that I knew from whenever I fell down in the ravine and broke my leg. I met him on that camping trip. So, like, these are people that that knew me. Um, and here's what happened, man. And this is a very good timing. The timing could not be different. You know why? Because it's March. It's the end of March. We're starting April. If you're brand new and you're just starting, if you're trying to get through your processes, like, we're in a race for experience. You need to get your processes down. How do you do that? Go run 100 appointments. Like, I don't know, somewhere between 0 and 100 appointments. Don't worry about the results. Let the chips fall where they may. Go run 100 appointments, and I promise you, somewhere between 0 and 100, you'll pretty much have your processes down, and you'll know how many appointments you're closing per how many you book. You'll know how many you book to make the money that you need to make. That's what I can tell you. Like, you have to take action. So here's what we did. We drove to the summer sales conference, and it was in June. Our summer sales conference is coming up in August. And let me tell you something, it's going to be way better than the first one they had in June. Like this is not an instant deal. Yes, you can go out and get your processes down. Yes, you can go out and make money. I if you got a house and a car, you're in better shape than I was. I started in March and I deposited $115,000 in my bank account between March and December, following what Bill and Rob's podcast said and running a ton of C&D leads until I could afford A leads. We all play by the same rules. We all earn our contract raises the same way, and there's no excuse other than, like, you can't blame anything else. So think about 3 or 4 or 5 people that you feel like would benefit from making an extra $2,000 a month, $1,500, $2,000 a month, working part time. That that's not hard to do. I mean, it's hard for me to think of anybody that couldn't use a $2,000 a month working part time. Now, I don't know if they're keeping their options open or not, but we're not there yet. I think I got a little fired up here, Vince, but this stuff fires me up, man. Like, this is what it's all about. If I could just, if I could just like help you guys understand what you have your hands on here, this is for real. Like, this ain't a wake up call, but we have a shot here between now and conference. If you have 3 people there, that's going to be awesome. Dude, what if it looked like if we had 15 people there? Like, there's an opportunity right now. I promise you, if you have people at conference, you do your job, they will do their job. And let me tell you something, the people that leave conference are going to leave there trained with the tools that they need, and they're going to produce a ton of volume. And I can show you line graphs, literally, of production spike. That off my chest. If there's one thing that I could tell you to do, take massive action and do whatever you have to do to get the conference.